Number 5, if we can't be separated from the love of Christ, is there really anything else in the universe left to fear? Now you notice, watch this, Paul lists out all kinds of dangerous things. Persecution and famine and distress. Here's what's most interesting to me. You see the question that he started, or the word he used? Who? Do any of those look like whos to you? They look like whats to me. You don't say who and then give inanimate objects. Fair? So is this a typo? Did he forget to say what? He meant to say what, but then he just accidentally said who? I don't think so. I think who is very, very intentional for a couple reasons that I can come up with at least. Number one, when you're in the midst of these things, it feels like it's personal. It feels like somebody is coming against you. And more importantly, I think what Paul is doing is he's setting up a contrast to try to show you that the who that is for you is a whole lot stronger than any of the whos that are against you. That the who on your team is a lot more mighty than any of the whos that are on their team. He's trying to show you that your dad is stronger. And your dad is not just gonna defeat those things for you. In fact, he's gonna make you, look at verse 37 in your Bible, he's gonna make you more than a conqueror. Oh, what a great phrase. How do you be more than a conqueror? Well, a conqueror would be somebody who defeats the enemy. What would more than conquering be? Well, I love how John Piper explains it. Look at this. A conqueror defeats his enemy, but one who is more than a conqueror subjugates his enemy. A conqueror nullifies the purpose of his enemy. One who is more than a conqueror makes the enemy serve his own purposes. A conqueror strikes down his foe. One who is more than a conqueror makes his foe his slave. You getting where he's going with that? It's not just that God delivers you from suffering, it's that God transforms suffering into the agents of his purpose. If he had just delivered you from suffering, you would be a conqueror. The fact that he now takes the suffering that you're in and transforms you into good and to glory through those sufferings makes you not just a conqueror, it makes you more than a conqueror. So that verse we looked at last week, 2 Corinthians chapter 4, where Paul said, these light and momentary afflictions, they are working in me an eternal weight of glory that I would not have had I not gone through the afflictions. I'm not just being delivered from the afflictions, I'm being delivered through the afflictions and with the afflictions so that I have more glory after going through the suffering than I would have had without those very things. And that makes me not just a conqueror, it makes me more than a conqueror. Because what our enemy meant for evil, what Satan meant for evil through famine and persecution and distress and sword, God meant for good. And God uses those attacks now to work things in you that he wouldn't have worked without him. And the who of your salvation is greater than the who of your opposition. Therefore, the who of your salvation transforms the opposition into the servants of his purpose.